We're not live? Okay.
Now
Okay.
you're like,
No, okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday morning here in Tokyo, well, in Japan, and we have beautiful Simone Milasas today. And yes, we have this book, Relationship. Are you sure you want one? In Japanese. Yay!
yay!
So we thought it'd be a really cool idea to do a little big book launch today through our Facebook Live. And I have some questions for you, Simone. But
I'm ready.
before we get started, I'm sure a lot of people do know you, but would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. My name is Simone Milasas, and I've been working with Access Consciousness for 21 years. I was the worldwide coordinator of Access for about 18 years. I started using Access Consciousness tools, like I said, about 21 years ago. And we were in 4 countries at that point, and now I think we're in like 187 countries. So it's expanded a lot. And I've written 3 books. Joy of Business is actually this is the English version, sorry, but that's actually in Japanese as well. And Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. And this 3rd book, Relationship, Are You Sure You Want One? I co-wrote with Brendan Watt, who I was in a relationship for 8 years. And a lot of the people used to see the way we were together and ask us questions about that. It's like, how are you creating this relationship? And can I tell you, the way we created our relationship was using Access Consciousness tools. Gary was such a huge contribution. So we started doing classes about it, and then that's when we went, let's put it into a book. So, and now we broke up the relationship as we launched the book. But you know what? We're still really good friends, and there's a lot of tools that you can use to be in a relationship or not be in a relationship. And one of the reasons why we called the book Relationship, Are You Sure You Want One? We wanted it to be a question, because we wanted everyone to realize that you have a choice. You don't have to choose something from, a necessity. So, so I've done so many things, even though I'm so young, but I've done so many things with my life and ended up here. It's my greatest desire is that people realize that they have choice with everything in their life, no matter what is happening around, the world or around them, and to empower people to know that they know. And that's the tagline of Access Consciousness. And I would like to actualize more consciousness on the planet, whatever that takes.
Okay, thank you. You actually answered 2 of my questions already. Why this book came about and why this title. Obviously, you read my mind. But I do remember I got this book when in English in Nusa during facilitated training. I was walking by the bookstore and I saw this title and I just went, relationship, are you sure you want? Of course I want one. Then I sort of like walked by. Then I thought, do I really want one? And I went back and I remember it took me like, I actually had to think about buying this book for like, because this title really, like you said, put a question in my head. So what I wanted to ask you was, what is relationship for you?
Okay, cool. And great question. And I also would like to acknowledge that I love that when you said you walked past and you read the question and you said, of course I do. Because that's what we're entrained. Of course you do. Of course you want a relationship. You get to a certain age and you're supposed to have a relationship. And then the next thing is you're supposed to have kids, It's like, it's this, forever evolving, what's the next step? But there's no choice in that. And it's like, all of that is perfectly fine to choose, yet I would like you to choose it, not choose it, like not have it be a necessity. So I love that actually occurred for you, Maki. I love that story. And for me, look, if you look at the definition of relationship, it actually means the distance between 2 things. So most people refer to relationship and they refer to it as, this is my relationship, and it has this distance between it. And there's so many expectations and projections. And what I would like to invite people to is something different. What I would say is called a creationship. Okay. So it's like when you've got 2 people or more, because this is not just about, your lover, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. This is also like the people that you work with. It's like your friends, your kids, everything. What sort of relationship do you want to create? And to me, it's like, let's look at a creationship. When, 2 or more people come together and you create at least 20 times more than what you would alone. And here's a tool that I've been practicing a lot lately with everything. If I did not need this, then what would I choose? Because I'm looking at the need, and so many people have a need, whether it's a need of business, a need of money, like your relationship with money, a need of a lover, a need of a family, etc. If you didn't need it, what could you enjoy with it? Because need has this energy. Like if I said, even with you, Maki, it's like if I had this energy of like, I need you, right? I need you to X, Y, Z. But here's the thing. Most people don't voice what they need, but they have this. So you throw this expectation at the person, and then you get disappointed when they don't choose or they don't do exactly what you've decided that they should do. And then the other person's going, I'm so confused. Like I was just, coming in here being me. And it's like, what is it that you would like? And especially between male female, I think it's hilarious. Do subtext, and men are just like this emoji. They're like, I don't know what's going on right now, And but it has this expectation that even though she says she's fine, you're meant to know why she's not fine and also how to fix and change it. I mean, I know that we're laughing, but this is the insanity. And
I know. I was just like, I've done that so many times.
Yeah, I'd love it to be completely different. It's like, what if you could be like, hey, you know what, this is up for me right now. Not expecting the other person to change, but just go, hey, look, I really need some space, and be okay with asking for space. Like it's not personal. It's not against you. It's just, some days you just require space. So it's like, what if we could have these creationships where it was something so much greater than relationship as done on this reality?
And when you were talking about need, and this place this is huge energy. Like I need this person, and I think there's more of like I want to be needed, right? And this is a huge thing in relationship done in this reality. Like you need somebody, or you want to be needed. You want to be their priority. Blah blah blah. And this really like messes things up. In my perspective. But when we talk about like, be needless, people kind of go, but then I won't be loved. I want to find love. So how do we get out of it? This need.
Well, I know.
Huge need in relationship.
And everything that you're saying too, Maki, it's like, please don't, it's not wrong. Like, don't judge yourself. Don't be like, oh my God, I'm totally getting this wrong. It's, if you're willing to be aware of something, then you can change it. But when you're not willing to be aware of it, you can't change it. And for me, Gary spoke to me, it was a while ago, and he just nailed it completely. Gary Douglas is the founder of Access Consciousness. And he said, you love men to need you, but the second they get needy, you're gone. And I was like, oh my goodness, that is so
true.
Because I'm independent, and very creative person. So when someone needs me and I'm like, oh, let's create, I have this thing, but the second they get needy, I'm like, oh, that's so pathetic. And it's like, wow, So I've actually been looking at that because I get it's a limitation. And for me, discovering Access Consciousness and all the tools, I don't desire to have any limitations in my life. So I chuckle at it and I laugh at it and go, wow, it's a good thing that you're, this is funny, Simone, and what can I be to change it? So I'm recognizing when that energy comes up and then asking, what can I be to change this? So whatever it is, like if you go, oh, I get crazy jealous or something, like, okay, have a look at it and ask, what are you jealous of? Because one of the things, and we go into depth in the book about this, is the 5 elements of intimacy. And I worked on this a lot. And I knew that I had to have the 5 elements of intimacy with myself before I could have that with somebody else. And most of the time when you sort of get paranoid, you get jealous, it's like, or, you know, you have that sense of like, oh, I am nothing without them. You're leaning on somebody else and you have these expectations to have more of you. Now, Hollywood movies haven't done us any favors, because they're all like, my other half, the knight in shining armor. It's like, you complete me. And it's like, nobody completes you except for you. So the 5 elements of intimacy, this is what I'm asking that you ask to have this with you. Because if you have it with you, then you can have it with somebody else. Is gratitude, trust, allowance, vulnerability, and honor. And if you can have those 5 elements of intimacy with you and your body, then when you actually are in a relationship with somebody else, you're totally honoring of each other. And you have this trust and this level of allowance and gratitude. And you mentioned love, Maki, and, no one will love me. Can I tell you something? If you have this energy of no expectations, no projections, you can't get rid of people. Everyone's around you. So when you have no need, it is one of the most attractive things in the world. Because if you look, when we just mentioned it, it's like when somebody gets really needy, you're like, oh, that's not very attractive. It's if someone has no needs, you're like, ooh. It's a cat and mouse game that we've played forever. And it's like, can we still play it? Like, even when we're, choosing something greater, it's like, it's still got this energy, but it's the energy of flirtation. And what if you could have more fun with that too? So I just want to, one thing that you mentioned, I want to sort of go over is when you're like, quote unquote, looking for love or that love energy, I want you to practice changing something for me. What if it wasn't about love? What if it was about gratitude? So if you look at the energy of when, like, pick someone in your life. If you're listening to this, pick someone in your life that you go, oh, I love them. Okay. Now look at the energy of I love them. And it's sort of because everyone has a different definition of love. So it comes with these sort of like these hidden agendas. But if you change that up and say, I'm so grateful for this person, then gratitude is just gratitude. Gratitude has no judgment. Love comes with judgment. So if you can even just practice that tool of changing that up and see if things start to, have this more joyful, peaceful energy to it.
I'm actually really glad you mentioned that, because like this is a book, obviously, so it's not a class. So this will be available to people who are not doing access to, right?
Absolutely.
And I was reading it again, and I think it was just only into chapter 2, Brandon drops this bomb saying, I'm in love is a judgment. And I was just laughing my head off. Like, we are only into chapter 2 and he just dropped this huge bomb on us. And could you like you did talk about a little bit about, instead of love, why don't we go towards gratitude? But this sentence, I'm in love, is a judgment. I think like people, especially people who haven't done access or who have only done bars and not done foundation, will read this sentence and go, what? Right? So this is what you were talking about, like love. We all have different definitions.
Yeah.
So he said, why don't we have gratitude?
Yeah. And it's like, just so play with the energy of it. And like, this is not about getting it right. And it's not about being wrong. It's not about being in judgment of what you've chosen, or what you can choose today. It's like, just like relax. It's like, relax and play with it, and start to ask to have more gratitude and more people to show up in your life who are grateful for you. Because I know for myself, for many, many years, it's like, all the men that I had, as boyfriends, etc., I chose them because they judged me in my body. And if they judged me in my body, then I could create this separation with them. Then I could be like, I could also have this like, see, and it's like, my judgments I have of me are correct because they have them too. Look, I'm not saying that that is sane, but that's what I was choosing. And so that you create this comfortable distance between someone. And how many of you are in a relationship and you have this comfortable distance, right? Rather than, well, what if you were willing to truly be vulnerable and have no comfortable distance? You have all of you, they have all of you, and then you get to play. Like, play with everything. It's like, to me, that's creating a relationship that is a creationship that is beyond this reality. It's like, I don't know about you, but at one stage I was like saying, I don't do relationship. And I remember Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, asked me a question about it. And I said, well, I don't see a good one, so why would I do it? But I realized I was using everybody else's relationship as a reference point for what I could choose, rather than asking a question and being present with myself and going, okay, just because I don't see a relationship that I'd go, oh, I wish I had that. I was like, well, what would I like to choose? And I would really like people to start exploring that. I mean, I was saying the other day, I don't know, have you seen Downton Abbey? I don't know if it's in.
No, I haven't. No, it's not in Japan, but I have
So
heard about it.
Okay, so it's Downton Abbey. I don't know if it's in Japanese, but it's if you go back hundreds of years, and people who had money and had wealth, it's like they would have their bedroom. So the female would have their bedroom with their own bathroom, etc. The male would have their own bedroom with their own bathroom, and they would have this a door that was adjoining. I'm like, that's perfect. I like that idea. I like having my own bathroom and my own bedroom, but then you can open the door up and you can visit each other. It's like, to me, that would work for me. But other people,
that would work for me too.
Yeah, I know. So, but we're not allowed to say that, because you're meant to be married. You're meant to sleep in the same bed every night. I mean, in this book, Brendan and I talk about so much. And, one of the things that we do a lot is we have a guest room at the house that we lived in together. And quite often one of us would go sleep in the other bed. And it wasn't because we were fighting. It wasn't because, we didn't like the person. It was just like, I require space tonight. So we'd go sleep in the other bed. And I noticed whenever we mentioned it, people would have this like, ooh, there's trouble in paradise. And we were like, no, paradise. It's actually paradise because we give each other space. But that's what worked for myself and Brendan. That may not work for somebody else. And that's what I would like everyone to discover, is what actually works for you.
And you got to be really honest with yourself, right? And
you
that's
do.
Something, that's something you mentioned in the book, that, what would you like in your life? I think there was this part when you were like, I think 18 months into relationship with Brendan, and you were crying. You didn't know if this is what you wanted because Nash was there, blah, blah, blah. And you really had to sit down and, really ask what you wanted. And I love that part about this book, the vulnerability you bring.
Yeah.
And that you are really honest.
Yeah, I was.
Really honest. And also Brendan was just there. Just like, like he didn't give you an ultimatum. And that was a really beautiful part as well for me.
Thank you. We read the book recently, so it's available in English audio, and I was here in my office and he was in Texas, and we had this whole recording set up so that we could do it together. Do you know how many times we either would just crack up laughing or one of us would burst out crying? It was like this, totally being so grateful for each other. And that moment that you talk about, just to explain it a little bit, is Brendan has a son, right? And I don't have children of my own. So when I met Brendan, Nash, his son, was 5 years old. And I had never desired to have kids. That was, not in the scheme of things for me. So all of a sudden, I'm living with this man who I absolutely adore, I'm really grateful for, and a 5-year-old. And yeah, like you said, I was sitting on the bed crying, and I was like, and he walked in and he was like, what's up? And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, I didn't ask for a kid. Like this is not, it's weird for me. And the way he looked at me and he said, Simone, he went, it's okay. He said, we can sort something out. And he said, but I sort of come with a kid. And I went, I know, I love the way he was so honest. This is my baggage. And I'm like, okay then, and then, but it wasn't like, oh, we have to break up. It was, okay, well, how do we work this? And he said, we can move out and we could live somewhere else. We could still be in a relationship and da-da-da. Anyway, you've got to get the book to read it, because what actually changed the energy was Nash.
That was beautiful. That was I was crying as I was reading. And also, there's a but coming here. I was reading that part, and that's one of my favorite parts of this book. I thought people might have this question, when they're reading this book. You are able to create this relationship because both of you are doing access consciousness. And a lot of people who are going to pick up this book will not be in a relationship where two people doing access. So my question is, like, if you have the tools, and if your partner does not have the tools, or your business partner, your family, but if you still desire to have this creationship, beautiful creationship, how would you go about it?
Just as easy, honestly. Like, it's irrelevant if the other person is not using the access consciousness tools. In fact, sometimes I think it might be easier because there's a lot of manipulation, these tools that you use. And when you're with someone who's using the tools as well, they look at you like, I know what you're doing. And you're like, I know you know what I'm doing, but it works. It still works, right? So, but if you are using those tools with someone who's never been to an access class, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Still use those tools. It's like, and see how it shows up. And it's going to be different for every single person. So, but don't use that as an excuse not to create something greater for you.
Okay. And also, there's this question on English book. It's on page 59. And I really like this question, which is this is the question you asked. Is this relationship a contribution to my life? And I think that's a really great question. But at the same time, when people are in relationship and when people make that like primal thing in their life, when even if they have the tools, when they're asking questions, they're already in the conclusion, of course it is contributing to my life. So how do you catch yourself? How do you like be in a space of like being okay if this is not contributing to my life? Because I think people might find it a little bit difficult to ask questions from a space that there is no expectations when they're in a relationship.
Well, I mean, I put that in the book too, because there was at one stage Brennan had this job and he hated it. So I'm not going to tell you everything because you have to read the book, but he hated it. So I basically said, look, why don't you take some time off? I can afford to pay for us. Like, let's do that. So give yourself some space to figure out what the hell it is you want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite a while that he wasn't working and I was fully supporting us. And at one stage he was getting really, he's psychic. It's like, so, but he was getting sort of depressed and he'd wake up in the morning and he'd be like sad and depressed and just sit around and not do much. And I'm a really creative person, especially in the morning. So, and we had a lot of projections, I've got to say, because Brennan was 11 years younger than me. Now I'm fully supporting him. He's got this kid, So a lot of people were projecting at us that, why are you guys together, right? So you have to sort of push all that aside and go, does this work for me? So I remember walking into the kitchen one day and I distinctly remember that day asking the question, but it's not from looking for a result or a conclusion. It's like, and truth, if you ask yourself truth, ask anyone, it's like, but say it in your head, it's like this universal law that you'll know, yes or no, like this yes or no universe. And asking, okay, so truth, is this a contribution to me? And I just got, yes, that's it. It doesn't have to be a reason and justification. It doesn't have to be a long story. It's just yes. And I'm like, okay. So then I'd go about my day. And if I look at it, it's like Brendan was such a contribution to me in the kindness that he was for me. Not to mention fabulous friggin' cook. So, I'd be working away and stuff and he'd be making these amazing meals, And so, but and also he handled so many things with our house, whatever. But see, that's going into the reason and justification rather than just saying, truth, is this a contribution? Yes. Okay, let's go. Now, if there's a place where you get, is this, because we've now split up the relationship, right? So there was coming to this stage, like the last 6 months of our relationship, it was sort of maintaining itself. It wasn't creating. And he's the one that broke the relationship up. And I did the, oh my God, like, this is terrible. And then I looked at it and went, oh, he's right. And then, we're actually doing a class soon called Breaking Up is Easy-ish. Because you got to put that ish in there because it's not the easiest thing in the world, but you can use tools to make
it easy.
Yeah. So that's in October. And so anyway, if you look at that, And when you get, is this relationship a contribution? And if you get no, right, this is not about sitting down to the other person and telling them everything that they've done wrong and what they have to do to change. This is looking at it for yourself and going, okay, so what's not working here? Like what would need to change for this to be something greater? Like at one stage, and I tell this in the book as well, Brendan was very good at spending money. So, and I was making money, but he was spending it and it was just going. And then I went, okay, I need to ask for his contribution. I need to ask for his help. So I said to him, hey, I want to show you all my bank accounts. I need to show you what's going on. So we sat down and I looked at everything and he was like, oh, and I went, I need your help. And it wasn't necessarily go out and get a job. It was like, I need your help to be aware of our finances. That's it. And as soon as I asked that, he went, okay, cool. And then he started taking on more of this like CFO, chief financial officer role of our relationship, which really worked for me because I like making money. I like doing things like that. But then the handling of it, I was like, oh, he's got that. I'm totally capable of that as well. But it was a contribution. So contribution comes in so many different forms, but don't look for the result or the conclusion or the judgment when you ask, is this a contribution?
So when you get a no, you ask yourself what's not working for you and whether you like to change it or not.
I mean, it could be like, you want the rubbish, the trash put out every week. So, I mean, it really could be something so simple, or, someone to put the dishes in the dishwasher because you're off to work or something. But then you go, okay, so that would make it easier. So then ask a question and go, okay, so, hey, you know what? I so love it when you pack the dishwasher. Like, do you think it's possible you could help me with that? Like anything. Do you know what I mean? But you've got to ask. Like at one stage, I needed all these paintings and everything hung up in the house. And Brennan's very good handyman. Like he's a good man like that, but I kept asking him and he wasn't doing it. So I hired a handyman. And he looked at me and he went, why did you hire a handyman? And I was like, because I need all this done. He was like, but I could have done it. And I laughed and I was like, but when? I went, I'm not looking to fight with him. If he wasn't doing it, then get somebody else. Like, don't have that energy with each other of making each other wrong, because that's never going to create something greater.
And also, like when I was reading this book, like the space you two are writing or conversing was so vulnerable. I really had to be like, the language you're using is very simple. There's no huge clearing statements or anything like that. It's very simple to read, but the level of vulnerability you bring to us was, I really had to be vulnerable reading it too. And I was actually thinking, a lot of people might think, being vulnerable in a relationship means, oh, I'm going to get used and abused, or they know how weak I am and they're going to use it against me, but it really isn't. So how has this relationship with you and Brendan changed your perspective on vulnerability? Or
yeah. I would say totally. Like I definitely was someone who came along, and thought that being vulnerable was weak, or being vulnerable, then like you said, people are just going to step all over the top of you. But it's actually not. It's the opposite of that. When you are being vulnerable, it's one of the greatest potencies, because no one can do anything. No one can poke you. It's like when you're vulnerable and you're being, honest with yourself, it's like then you can have everything. So it's actually one of those words that is being totally misconstrued. And, my question would be has it been misconstrued in order to control you? And what if now, Maki, more than ever is the time that we start to question everything and, be in that question of like, well, what choice can I make today that would allow me to be more successful in every area of my life than I've ever chosen before, and be with that energy and that level of vulnerability of going, okay, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. Okay, what am I going to do with this, really, yeah.
And I must say, when I, like I said, when I started reading this book, Relationship, Are You Sure You Want One? And I started reading and I thought, maybe I don't want one. And when I actually finished reading it, and I remember saying to myself, if something like this is possible, I am sure I want one. Because like the relationship you talk about here, it's not just like quote unquote relationship. It's really like you talked about like creationship. You take this relationship into like, it's part of your creation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people see it that way. Like they separate between creation and relationship. And so I was just wondering, and like any tips on like people who are in relationship or who are really like looking into having a relationship, how to incorporate that into creating their life, like adding more to their life.
Yeah, look, don't use this book as an answer, and don't use anyone else as an answer. It's, hopefully this book will create that question in you, like you said, to have a look at what it is that actually like truly works for you. Okay. And I can't stipulate that enough. And the 5 elements of intimacy. It's also not looking at relationship as this definition. It has to look this certain way. Like for me, when we broke up the relationship, and then I started to look at, well, would I like another relationship? Because Brendan pretty quickly entered into another relationship. And so I started to question that too, and was like, oh, I wonder if I would like one. And I was like, yes, I do. And then I went, hang on, do I? And I started to break it down and have a look at, there's aspects of relationship that I thoroughly enjoy. And, like I like hanging out with someone and, having a glass of wine and a nice meal and sex, it's like, I like that like once, twice, 3 times a week or something like that. But I don't necessarily want to live in my house with someone again. Not at the moment. Will I in the future? Maybe, but not right now. I really like my space. I love my job. I love what I get to create in the world. And it's really important to me and quite a priority. And yet there are these aspects of relationship I like. And to be honest too, I also get those aspects of relationship from, some of my girlfriends or, male friends that I'm not actually having sex and copulation with, but I love hanging out with them and talking possibilities and creating possibilities. It's such a thrill for me. So have a look at if relationship is not like this binary coding on off, right? It's what is it for you? Like, like I said, when I described that having a separate bedroom, your own bathroom, it's like, oh yeah, that sounds really good, And I've heard of people living next door to each other, and I'm like, that sounds good too, It's like I'm not sure I'd ever choose something again where I slept in the same bed as someone every single night. I'd always have to have some place where I could call my own. Maybe I'm more like a man. You know how men have man caves? Man cave is a real thing.
Yeah. I'm like you too. I need my space. I need my room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but acknowledging that. So I think really playing with that. I'm also going to mention that, please read this book and read it, slowly, read it again and like open it up anywhere, because it does have a lot of things in there that you may miss. We also do relationship done different classes that you get a manual, and it's like there's no prerequisites for it. I highly recommend reading this book though, and we sort of delve into some of those questions that maybe you're not willing to have a look at. And to me, when we're in the relationship done different classes too, you've got someone asks a question over here and you go, oh yeah, I'd like that too. So then it sort of contributes to each other by being in this class. So there are relationship done different facilitators all over the world. I know I have a class coming up towards the end of November as well. So you can find all of that on relationshipsdonedifferent.com and accessconsciousness.com as well. So it's one of those topics that so many people say they want freedom, yet they're not really willing to jump off the cliff and go, well, what is it going to take to have, They just want to get it right. It's like, if it's not about getting it right, it's free.
But I really wish I had this book growing up as a teenager instead of reading Dolly, you know.
I know.
Seriously.
That is so true. Yes, yeah, that is so true. And look, as you
Because
said before, there was a gentleman in India, and he said to me, Simone, he said, some of the stories that you and Brendan talk about in here, he said, I couldn't even talk to my wife about it. And he goes, you've put it in a book for the world to read. And I was like, yeah. And it's like, we do get down and dirty with some stories in there, but hopefully it contributes to people and helps. It's like, what if we didn't have to hide anything, you know?
So like I would definitely recommend this book to everybody, and also like read it for yourself. And if you have like teenage kids, give a copy. Just don't make them read it, but just say, hey, this is something you might enjoy, because like I really wish I had this book.
No, for the kids, what if you left it like lying around the house and said, you're not allowed to read that?
Ah, good manipulation.
Right? Yeah. And then they'll sneak it. Yeah. Leave it in the bathroom.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all the questions I had. Thank you so much. And if I could, may I just read one of my favorite paragraphs from this book? Okay.
Sure.
It's on page 64 in English. And Akiko, I'm not sure if you have a Japanese book available, but I promise this is a short paragraph for you to translate. What I would love you to get out of this book is the choice of possibilities that are available to you. You don't have to be limited to the expectations, the projections, and the judgments that define relationship in this world. No, you have the choice to create a relationship that is way beyond where you are currently functioning from. I love this. It's like it sums it all up. And I keep coming back to this paragraph, and I'm so, so grateful for you and Brendan.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Maki. It's always such a pleasure chatting to you. Thank you.
Oh, same here. Thank you so much. So I think we have a link where you can purchase this book in Japanese. So please check it out. And like Simone said, she has a class called Relationship Done Different. If you read this book, if you would like to explore more and dive deeply into that, please come to her class as well. But really, it's not that thick, so you could probably read it over the week. And like I said, it's written in a very, very simple language. So please pick a copy. You will love it. And thank you so much for your time, Simone. Thank you so much. And thank you, Akiko, for translating.
Yes.
And I do hope to see you again in person soon.
You will. We just don't know when.
Yep, that's true. So
all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.